Welcome to Play by Players, an MLSPA podcast. Now here's your host, former MLS player, Bobby Boswell.
Hey everybody, thank you for joining us today. We're joined by a very special young player. It's the youngest guy we've had on the podcast ever. I had to check and make sure he wasn't born in 2000. He just missed that cutoff date. He's a 99, which just hurts me to say because it makes me feel really old. But coming in from the U.S. Men's National Team, U.S. Youth National Team, and the Philadelphia Union, please welcome Mark McKenzie.
I appreciate it. Thank you guys for having me.
Awesome. How you doing, man? I know it's been a crazy time. It looks like there's some light at the end of the tunnel in terms of getting back to playing. How have you been handling everything that's going on?
I've just been trying to take it in stride. You know, it's sometimes difficult when you first enter a difficult situation to be able to see the final outcome, you know, to see that light at the end of the tunnel. So just been really focusing on taking it one day at a time, not to get too far ahead of myself, and just doing what I can control. I think that's the most important thing right now. And at the end of the day, that's me, you know, and the work I put in behind the scenes, you know, making sure that I'm fit once we, now that we're kind of back into the individual training setting with the team, you know, making sure that I was ready, you know, to continue working.
Well, so you talk about fitness. That would have been a huge problem for me when I played during this pandemic. But, you know, were you, you know, it's kind of weird because you go through this preseason, you got to get ready fitness-wise for preseason. Then you come in, you only get 2 games under your belt, and then you're kind of off for a little bit. Now it's back to almost like a heightened preseason again. How have you, you know, were you in pretty good shape coming in, and are you in pretty good shape now? Are you comfortable with where you're at?
Yeah, I mean, you go through a pretty gruesome preseason, you know, in January, you know, I went to January camp, you know, it's like the preseason before preseason. Even though I wouldn't necessarily call it January camp that, but you kind of know what I mean.
Yeah.
But, you know, you go through all that work and you get the first 2 games under your belt and fitness and form and starting to come into shape, and to then go to qualifiers and hope to qualify for the World Cup or for the Olympics. And then to kind of shut down everything, you know, initially it's tough to even try and stop. So, you know, finding that period of, you know, like coming to grips with the situation, you know, and saying, all right, now I got to figure out a plan for myself. So as the weeks kind of went on, I became more adept at, you know, waking up in the morning. All right, you know, I don't have a trainer here to help me out, so I, you know, bought some foam rollers and some lacrosse balls and, you know, some mini bands and whatnot to try and, you know, to cover that area. And then, all right, what workouts are the team sending in, and how can I change these workouts? You know, I don't know when we'll be back, but, you know, at least when we get back, I can focus on my touch. I can focus on, you know, making some stronger. I can focus on my fitness. You know, these little things, you know, throughout the weeks, until we do get the green light to finally get back into some kind of team environment. And now that we're actually here, you know, I think I'm definitely ahead of where I thought I'd be. You know, it's easy to kind of fall off of that, and I think that was the one thing that I really tried to discipline myself in, and making sure that, you know, when we did get back, that I was ready for it. So, you know, again, the match fitness will come once we get to that stage. But for now, you know, I think I'm in pretty good shape. And, you know, as the weeks go on, we'll see. I continue to test myself and see where I'm at with everything.
All right. Well, and for those of y'all that are getting your first exposure here to Mark, if you can tell, he's very well spoken, very, very well, I'd say well beyond his years. But that's kind of a theme and what we're going to get into here in terms of your leadership and your professionalism. I'd like to throw it back to the beginning. Let's go back. I know you're a Delaware guy.
Yeah.
I claim Florida, even though I'm born in Texas. I mean, are you claiming Delaware?
Yeah, I mean, I always claim New York. That's the birthplace. That's where I grew up, and then eventually moved to Delaware. So, you know, I would claim Delaware. I've been here for a while, so Delaware is my second home.
All right, and there aren't a lot of people playing professional soccer out of Delaware. I mean, you kind of got to be the pride of the state in that regard.
Yeah, you know, there's a handful of us, you know, who can call ourselves a pride of the state. You know, myself, you know, Anthony Fontana, he's a Delaware guy. Actually, doesn't too far from me. You know, some other guys in college ball in that realm. But yeah, you know, to be able to play professional ball and be one of the few coming out of Delaware is, you know, something special.
All right. And then I see in the background, you've got a family.
Yeah.
Family is where life begins. Big family guy. Anyone that is a fan of yours knows that. And tell me about, I mean, you got some athletic genes. Tell me about your parents and
Yeah.
your background there.
Yeah, it's my dad. He's Jamaican, through and through. He was born there and came to the States after he graduated high school with his family, with his mom. So he's been here for a while. Hardworking guy. He played soccer through college, and then eventually worked his way into medical school and then worked at the hospital for special surgery in New York. Yeah, he's a hardworking guy, and I think that's kind of where I get that grit from that Jamaican side of me, that roll up the sleeves and get the job done. Yeah, he played through all the way through to college. After he graduated college, and he eventually focused on medicine. My mom, she was a dancer and she ran track in her youthful years, and then now she's she doesn't run track anymore, but she still likes to say that she can beat me in a race.
Okay.
But yeah, I got some good genes in my family. My mom's side, grandparents are tall people, so it's a nice mix. My parents, I'm taller than both of them, so it's everybody tries to figure out where'd you get the height from. So it's my mom's side. So yeah, like a nice mix.
All right, and then with the dad from the Caribbean, did he ever push you? I mean, I'm sure you could have, if you wanted, you could have been a dual national. Was there any pressure on one side or the other?
No, I feel like they allowed me to make that decision. Ultimately, of course, I take great pride in both sides of my culture. I love Jamaica. I still have family out there I like to visit and spend time with them. Dad taught me patois when I was younger, so I have that in my back pocket as well. But also just embracing my American roots, understanding what it means to be American, what it means to live in the country. So again, they never forced me to either side. My dad, of course, he wants me to lean toward Jamaica, but at the end of the day, he's like, look, wherever your heart leads, and wherever you feel like you can succeed, and continue to push yourself.
Well, I tell you what, I went to college in Miami, and my school was predominantly Latin and Caribbean, and my brother was like an honorary Jamaican. We had some Jamaican guys that lived with us, and my brother was a culinary student, so he cooked a lot, and we had a ton of Jamaican guys that would always come around when he was getting finished with his cooking. And I tell you what, there were guys that they couldn't even walk a straight line. They were so unathletic. But when it came to soccer, Jamaican guys have no problem telling you how you should have done something different on a certain play, or I'm sure you can attest to that you probably get more pressure from the Jamaican part of your family than you do from the American part, and that it's just in their culture to that everyone knows best. I feel like in the Caribbean.
Oh, for sure. My dad, he's still to this day, he's like, watches the games. He's like, listen, if I was in your shoes, I would have done this different and this different. I'm like, listen, pops, I hear you, but let me try and figure this one out. All right. But nah, it's nice jabbing with them and talking with them.
Okay. And then I know you mentioned your mom dances, and I think your sister dances too. Are you
yeah.
Can you dance?
Yeah, I can definitely pick up Madison. My little sister, she's hip hop and tap. Those are two primary dances. So she'll teach you some choreography every now and again. Some of it'll stick, some of it won't. But I like to say I can dance.
And if we get back to playing here and we see you scoring some goals, are we gonna see some of that? Or
For sure. I know I've had a lot of time now to get some ideas going, and I got a few tricks up my sleeve that I'll bring out.
Okay. All right. Well, for those Philadelphia Union fans, you heard it here first. We're gonna see some dancing from Mark when he's scoring goals. We talk about Philadelphia. Tell me about coming from Delaware. Were you in the youth academy before you go to Wake Forest, or was it?
Yeah, no, I was in the youth, actually in Union Juniors, at pre-academy. Jim Curtin was my coach at the time with E. Monroe and Tommy Wilson. They were the ones who kind of spotted me. I reached to drive out to King of Prussia for a couple times a week just to go involved in the mix of guys out there. A lot of which is Penn Fusion now, FC Delco. A lot of those guys up in the area. So I was one of the four, and yeah, just kind of made me there. Started there like 11, 10, 11, about 11. Joined the academy was 13, all the way through till U19 or U19 now, but U18 before I left for Wake Forest.
Yeah, so y'all were pretty good though, right? I remember the y'all had some. I don't want to say gritty is the right word, but I heard some rumors about some of these Jim Curtin coached youth teams, and then I'll tell you about when I got to Atlanta, we had a kid I think that had gotten maybe kicked out of the Philadelphia youth team, and he was back in Atlanta, and I remember thinking like I kind of thought Atlanta was had some swagger, but I was like this kid got kicked to Philly, like what must, and he was kind of a bully on the Atlanta youth program, and I was like, man, if he got bullied out of Philly, it must be a no holds barred, like cutthroat group.
Yeah, no, it was definitely a hard nosed group out there. I think that's kind of what helped us, help each other, push through. Once somebody you saw got kind of got complacent, it was that elbow, in the back of the neck or whatever it was, like, hey, I'm here, so let's go. And I think that's what helped us, what helped push us to how far we got. It was a really tight knit group as well. I spent my junior year and senior year at the school as well, and got close with a lot of guys. That greatness. And we had a motto like nobody likes us, so we don't care. That motto kind of stuck with each of us, and really, helped us through those difficult times when it felt like, nobody really likes us. Like, what is going on? That we don't care part. It's like, all right, we're gonna do what we got to do, handle business, get the points, and get back home. I think that kind of relates to who we are today. As a club, we're gonna do the job and get the points.
And it was at that point when you were training with the youth coming up, were they mixing you in and out with the first team, or
yeah?
Did you see, like, did you think you had what it took then, or was there a moment? Me personally, I never thought I would make it to the pros. I just was like, I like playing soccer. But what for you? And we'll get into your dream experience, but coming from the youth program for the MLS club to the pros, I'm kind of curious as to if there was like a moment, like an aha moment, like I can do this.
Yeah, it was. I had the Steel had just come into the picture about my U16 year, my second year with U16s. I was getting pushed back and forth with the U16s and the Steel, training with them, the Steel on, maybe 3 or 4 times a week. Eventually made my professional debut with them right before I turned 17. And then from there, it was kind of getting introduced into the professional realm. And in my head, I was like, all right, I started to see these, these little kind of glimmers of light. Like, okay, I love this game. Like I love it. I know I love it, but like, can I get to the next level? What's it gonna take? Being in that atmosphere on a daily basis, I think really pushed me. And then eventually, once I started doing well with the Steel, got called into the first team a couple of times to train with them throughout the weeks. And getting bullied by Modu and Guchenyewu and Charlie Davies, Chris Pontius, getting bullied by these guys, and it kind of gave me that, all right, I got to come here with a little chip on my shoulder and and show what I can do as well. I believe there was one training session. It was I think it was late summer, early fall, hot day, and I had actually gotten into it was a small sided tournament. It was like 5v5, and Mo Dude was on the other team. He'd always take me under his wing, in the gym and whatnot, and helping me and pushing me, laughing, joking with me. And we were training, and I was defending him. He had made a run, and I kind of gave him a shove and pulled on his jersey a little bit and stopped him from scoring. And it kind of pissed him off. And at the time, I didn't know. And I had the goalie rolled the ball out to me, and Mo was pressing, and I passed the ball away and just got absolutely smashed. And it was like I was facing the grass, just and he was like, yeah, that's what you get for pulling my jersey, something like that. I forget what he said, but it was one of those moments. And BJ Callahan, who's the assistant at the time, he's with the national team now, but he was like, "Yeah, welcome to the big leagues." And kind of at that point, I was like, "All right, I kind of like this, How do I, from there, well, on a daily basis, I'd already been pushing, but I had taken it up another notch, and trying to see, learn the game and learn what their experiences are, hear about their experiences and what it took them to get to where they are, and what it could take me ultimately to get to get that level and higher.
Okay, well, just two things out of that. First of all, everyone gets bullied by Gooch, so that's not like that's just a badge of honor. No one,
Yeah, man.
Zlatan couldn't bully Gooch. So, and then we're gonna definitely edit this so that we don't ever Chris bully any. He hears this, his ego will take another step up, and then he'll probably start texting you and saying, "That's right, I bullied you." And we don't need to encourage anything.
Chris, I was much scrawnier back when. So
yeah, no, don't worry, we're gonna edit it out. Don't worry. Okay, so tell me, you're with the Bethlehem Steel. You're moving up and down. You need to go to Wake Forest as opposed to just going pro.
Yeah, no, I mean at the time, I think attending a prestigious school like Wake Forest, and kind of seeing their style of football, and hearing about how they played and watching their game, I felt like me being away would allow me to mature. I'm not saying that me signing professionally wouldn't do that as well, but kind of engaging in the college experience, I think, was an important step for me. And looking back on it, I wouldn't change a thing about it because it allowed me to really become more independent, become more disciplined, and really learn about what I wanted to do, who I wanted to be. It was a difficult time because I didn't play as much at Wake actually, and then being away from my family and having to go through that difficult spell of no games and training every day and what do I have to do to get to the team, and kind of getting lost in that. What am I doing for, I'm trying to appease the coach and not play for not only myself, but how can I help my teammates get better? And at that point is when it was like a turning point for me. And again, being away helped me to mature and ultimately kept me disciplined. And through that, all the way until I eventually started against Clemson and the SEC against Clemson. Yeah, I got my opportunity and ran with it and never looked back. But kind of turning point from there was I had been feeling that was sparking. Like I need to be in the professional realm. I need to, I want to take it to the next level. I want to compete at the highest level. And from there, it was now trying to get back into contact with Philadelphia and establish that connection and say, listen, I want to come back home, and I understand, if I have to play at the Steel, whatever it is, I just want to be back and fight for my spot. And they welcomed me back, and I'm thankful for that. And coming with a clean slate in January and ready to fight, and rolling up my sleeves and making sure that they knew I wasn't there to play games. So, well, ultimately there to play games, but you know what I mean.
I get what you're saying. Oh, I think that's great. I'm, for the people that have listened to all the podcasts, I'm a big fan of guys going to college, even if it's for a year. I think you can definitely tell the difference in a guy that has been to college versus a guy that comes straight from high school, or some of these kids are coming during high school, just because college has a hierarchical system where you are the bottom of the totem pole, whether you're everything I can't echo that enough. I think it's so important, and a lot of guys aren't as talented as you or as lucky as you with the opportunity they had, and they need the college outside of just signing a pro contract and then being a dud in 3 months, and now they can't go to school and get an education.
Education as well.
And I know that's important to you. Let's talk about the U.S. men's national or U.S. youth national team before we jump into and Philly and the men's national team. You were a youth guy for almost every level, right? And
yeah,
and more importantly, in those pools, it's pretty hard to be named a captain, but that's kind of been a consistent theme for you as a leader of young men. Tell me about your youth national team's experiences, and we can get into a little bit about injuries, but I'll kind of lead you through that. Just kind of give me a broad view of your perspective of it.
Yeah, no. I came into the national team think it was U14. U15 was kind of my first involvement in the national team system. And I had gone a couple times. Matt Riel, he was getting called in as well. So we go to camps together. But it wasn't on a consistent basis throughout my academy or my early year. We get called into a camp here and there. And kind of got a taste of it, and what it was going to take in order for me to stay in that group. And then it wasn't U18. January camp, we'll meet in Mazi U18 year. That U18 cycle, where I really established myself at January camp, and from there, never look back and just continue to assert myself, and make sure I was a dominant force within the group. Holding myself to a high standard, but also the guys around me to a high standard. Although everybody's coming from different clubs, it's an honor to be even called into a national team camp, and to be a mainstay in that group. Is even harder, and I think that's what would help push us through ultimately to the U20 cycle with Ty Ramos, and again continue to be dominant and assertive with the group. Making sure everybody is ready for that whenever your name is called. Because again, it's a cycle. People come in, people come out. Injuries occur, and clubs won't release you, and so many different factors. But being ready when that opportunity is coming, because when I was in that position, I was on the outside. I wanted to make sure that I was a guy. Once I was in, and ultimately look through to the U20 World Cup, and being there with the team. And it was kind of weird because of the appendicitis and the timing of that. But even being named captain in that period of time, it was one a blessing and an honor. And forced me to kind of be a leader in a different way. I wasn't playing as much in that tournament, but at the same time, I had to make sure that guys were ready, because the games were coming, very fast, and injuries were occurring, and knocks can happen, and suspensions and whatnot. All these different factors in the game that can be thrown at you. And we had a good bit of success. We had taken a stumble in the first game, and that was difficult for the guys, because oh my gosh, what happens if we don't make it to the next round? But again, dusting ourselves off and saying, look, this is what it's going to take in order for us to make a deep run in this tournament. It didn't start out the way we wanted to, but again, we can only control what we can control at this point, and that's making sure that each day in training, hard but smart. We're making sure we're holding each other to a high standard, and making sure that we're prepared for this game, because everybody's fighting for that trophy, and there's only one team that can lift it at the end of this tournament. I think that attitude, which I really tried to instill in each guy, no matter if you were starting or if you were in the 18 or if you weren't in the 18, making sure, because again, they come very fast. And when your name is called, you need to be able to put your best foot forward. Although we're a brotherhood, everybody's fighting for a spot too. So that competitive nature and making sure we're breeding that in the group helped us to ultimately, we topped France and, came into the quarterfinal against Ecuador, and unfortunately weren't able to come out with the win. But again, making sure that we made a name for ourselves, and made a statement, that we can play. We're not here to play around. We can play for top football as well, and we showed that against France. So, now through to be able to get called into a senior team camp, second one, third one this past January, was a true honor, and to then make my debut was something that I've been dreaming about since I was a kid. So, to look back and being a U14 on the outside looking in, and now, to make my senior debut is, come full circle. But again, I still have a ways to go. I'm only 21, so I have a lot of ambition. Hungry for more opportunities.
Did you, I guess that's my question, as a youth international, did you have the expectation, like, when you were coming up in the ranks, did you say, okay, watching, guys, the senior guys ahead of you, were you saying, okay, that's going to be me one day? Or were you kind of like, I'm here now, I don't know if I'll get there? Or was this always an expectation that this would be the next step for you?
No, I think once I kind of got a taste of, being a national team in that system, it was a matter of, all right, seeing guys before me do it, I'm like, all right, I can do this as well. But again, understanding, I think with maturity, I was able to really understand what it took to get to that position. And as I came through the ranks, that hunger and that fire to play for the national team at the highest level, to play in World Cups and the Olympics. And, again, at the highest level of international football, I think, again, came as I got older. I started to come into myself, and establish my game. But I always had that long-term goal of playing for the senior team, and making sure that once I was part of the senior team, I became a mainstay the same way I was through the youth national team ranks. And that's the attitude I've kind of always had, making sure that I follow the process. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be fast sometimes. It's going to be grueling and take some time. But again, as long as you stay consistent, and chip away at it day by day, ultimately that goal will come to fruition.
Okay. And then, this is kind of off the cuff, and I don't want to put you in a spot where you have to say something you don't want to say. There's a lot of talk about what's going on with the national teams at all levels, missing the World Cup, missing tournaments, and you're kind of in that last generation of guys that were making it. You made, like you said, you go to the World Cup and as a youth, and you beat France, or you play well and you get out of the group stages, but at least you were there.
Right.
And now we're in this thing where we're not even making these things. Do you have an opinion? And if so, do you care to share it? And I respect your decision as a guy that's in it. You got to kind of tread softly, because there are, a lot of coaches and people that, they're getting ridiculed. And I'm always a big pro US soccer guy, meaning I believe that we can compete with anybody, but clearly there's something going on where we're struggling to make some of these tournaments and get out of group stages. What's your take on when you hear all this stuff and they're saying we don't have the right people, or we're not doing the right things? I mean, how do you handle those comments?
I mean, when you're actually in a situation, it's different. I remember looking from the outside in, it was like, what's going on? But now being in it and seeing it, and experiencing it, I think it's tough to pinpoint one thing. We have so much creativity, coming up. We have so much talent and potential. But I think it's really capitalizing on that, and giving not only our young players recognizing them, but also giving them an opportunity, to showcase themselves. And I think, especially in this past January, we had a ton of young guys. We had a really talented group. We also had experienced guys in there as well. But I think that mix helped. I think having the perspective of the veterans and having that creativity and spark of the young guys, that kind of riskiness that the young guys bring into the game was a good combination. Giving guys an opportunity to showcase themselves, and show that we can play as well. I think that coming into this new era and this new decade, with so much expectation, I think that it's only gonna the anticipation and the excitement is only gonna grow that much more, and there's gonna be a lot of criticism, because it's not gonna be a smooth path. There's gonna be plenty of ups and downs. There's gonna be twists and turns along the journey, but I think we just got to be consistent. We got to, although it may not be pretty football all the time, sometimes we got to roll up our sleeves and get dirty, and get the points and come out of the game, and that's just how it is. It's not going to be the pretty football and 80% possession and 28 shots on goal and this, that, and the other. Sometimes it's going to be 35-40% possession against you're getting outpossessed. But when you get those opportunities in front of the net, you punish. You get those opportunities on set pieces, you punish. And also when you get those opportunities to show some flair and be creative, and giving the freedom to guys to express themselves. I think that's going to be very important for us coming into this new time. Greg has done a great job of incorporating that, I feel like, so far. And again, it's tough to say. It's early. It's only been a year and some change now. Haven't really had a whole lot of, speed or momentum to pick up on at the moment, and just with the stoppage of play. But again, there's a lot of excitement, and I think patience is going to be the key thing right now. Is just being patient and allow us to be consistent and to chip away at it. Like I said, we have the Olympics coming up next year, and I think that'll be a good spark for U.S. soccer as a whole, to show on the international stage. because we have a really talented group of guys, who are ready to make sure that we turn this new chapter started off on the right foot.
Yeah, no, I'm excited, and I agree with you. I think, I think that patience is the right word, and we have this win now culture, and now that we have access to every league in the world, it's like win now and play like Barcelona, and win now and play like Bayern Munich, and it's just like it's tough, man. But we won't go. I won't tell my age if we start talking about all that. One last thing I want to touch on, then we'll have a little more fun. So talk to me about, I didn't touch on this, but ACC champs at Wake Forest. Then you go to Philadelphia Union. You come in there. Tell me about, coming in. You're a Rookie of the Year candidate your first year. I always ask, who made it easy on you, or who took you? You said it sounded like Mo took you under his wing coming up, but who helped you? Did anyone make it really hard on you? Or who really helped you as you came into Philly's program?
Yeah, I think having the relationship with Mo and Gooch, those two guys, coming before I joined the first team, having that relationship with them and being able to communicate with them really helped me with the transition. Hearing those guys who have experience and who have played at the highest level internationally and club-wise, talking to them and picking their brains as to what it's going to take in order to make it and to be in the group who are mainstays. I think that really helped me in that transition period. And then coming into preseason and understanding that it's a clean slate. All the stuff I've done in the academy is great and everything, but this is now a new realm. And then having guys like CJ Sabong, Harris Medunian, and Keegan was there as well. Ray Gaddis, those guys around me, to hear their perspectives and to pick their brains, and to hear what they had to say, and how they kind of saw my game, evolving and picking different things, and trying to apply them day by day in training. But again, listen to them say, look, it's a long year. It's a long year. Things are going to happen, suspensions and injuries and, Open Cup and all these different things are going to happen. So you need to be ready and prepared. And I think that was a theme, throughout the year, especially coming out of Wake, just being prepared for the opportunity, preparing and chipping away. And ultimately it came, right after I come back from Spain camp with U20s. And then, made my debut against Orlando in early April. And then a few weeks later, made my first start against Dallas in Dallas. And from there, kind of just continued to pick up momentum and focus on making sure that I was remaining in the group, and being consistent in my game, but also assessing. I had holes in my game that I had to work on, and understanding that there's so many different aspects to this game, seeing the game, watching it, breaking it down, going, applying it in training, spending time after training, weightlifting, injury prevention, treatment, nutrition, so many things that, as a young player, as a new guy to the league, you have to really mature. And I matured a lot and at Wake, and then to mature that much more in order to grow in the game. So I think those are just a few guys who kind of helped me make that transition a bit smoother, a bit easier. But again, the coaches, Jim Curtin, having a relationship with him, and being able to have conversations with him, real conversations, and what is it in my game that I'm doing well, okay, but these are other areas of my game, and having his perspective and him being at the position, and these, just some guys who helped me, some lessons that I was able to learn.
Yeah, Jim's probably it's a blessing and a curse, right? In that he played the same position, and he's a big believer in the depth of the team, and I know he mixes it up a lot. I'm not a big fan of that. We probably would have butted heads, but just I know that he's figured out a way to get the best out of that group year in and year out. So I wish you luck going forward with Philly. Let's lighten it up a little bit. Let's talk about off the field stuff. I know in your spare time, there's a lot more that defines you than just soccer. am I hearing you're multilingual, or you're trying to become multilingual?
Yeah. Spanish is conversational Spanish. I'm able to understand a good bit. Responding takes me a second, but once I'm able to get going, I'm pretty good with that. I'm trying to learn Italian and French. We have some Portuguese speakers as well in the locker room, so Portuguese is coming along. Okay, I wouldn't say it's great, but I'm working at it. So I've had a lot of free time now and just spending some time.
Okay, and then what about you're musically trying to grow that way too?
Yeah, piano. Yeah, I have a piano right down here in the basement with me. So I got that last year and just chipping away at it.
Am I going to see you on this MLS Idol, this thing they're putting out there?
Yeah, I mean, I might make an appearance, but still working at it. So once
work in progress.
Exactly. Once it's a nice product, clean, and
got to tame the beast before you let him out of the cage.
Exactly.
All right. Well, one of the interesting things I found about you, which I don't hear much, there's always these debates, right? Like Ronaldo over Messi. We have, that one's like 50-50. Yeah. There's guys that, that I say like the unathletic short guys and unathletic tall guys like me always go with Messi. And then the guys that the pretty boys, I call them, they go with Ronaldo. Then there's this new age, right? I'm old, you're young.
Yeah.
We got the MJ LeBron debate. I'm curious to hear what you think about that with The Last Dance coming out. Or did you tune into that one?
Yeah. I watched it. First couple of weeks I was a little behind, so I just caught up on it midweek. But I watched the whole documentary. Found it really interesting. So I'd probably say just MJ and his competitive nature, his competitive edge. I'd probably give him the number one spot, but LeBron is right there, along with Kobe. Kobe and MJ, I feel like had such similar games that sometimes, but I'd say like that 1.5, and 2 shared between Kobe and LeBron. So,
well, I know we talked about having you on a while ago, and this was, I mean, a while ago. And when I built this out, my questions out, this wasn't even MJ's Last Dance wasn't even there. So I was like, I just was going to go right through that one. Like Ronaldo, Messi, that one just gets people going. Yeah. LeBron, MJ, that's really just an old school, new school. But now I have a little bit more perspective, or more people have more perspective that were younger. But the interesting one to me was, this is a huge one for purists of the game. And I heard you call it football. I call it soccer. But this promotion relegation, you're one of the few people that I've heard that will entertain this. And as a young guy, you kind of have are you for promotion relegation?
Yeah, I would be. If it came into the picture, I feel that it adds that much more incentive, to compete, and to win. At the end of the day, nobody wants to get knocked down. Nobody wants to stay at the bottom or be in the red zone. I think that the idea, the concept is something that I personally endorse. I feel like it will definitely add another layer to the game for, over here in the States. We see it over there in Europe right now with the teams, no team wants to be relegated. You not only lose, money, but you lose top players, you lose endorsements, so many different factors. So, there's that added incentive, that added bonus to win games, and to know that if we don't compete and we don't perform, we're out of here. So.
Yeah, well, you just picked up like the most passionate followers of the game with that comment, because I tell you what, that's the one topic, if you say, you engage people on, in terms of, if you say, oh, I'm not for promotion relegation, people they come at you hard, man. So you're the first guy that really kind of talks about it. And I know a lot of guys, they feel that way, but they don't get into it. So I just thought I'd ask. I got one last tough question for you, and then I'll let you get out of here. We'll talk about some charity stuff, but you did talk about Europe, promotion relegation being over there. I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, you have the ability to hold a passport that would allow you to go overseas quite easily. And then if you're in the national team mix, that of itself helps. Long term, aside from helping, the Philadelphia Union win championships and the U.S. men's national team qualify for big tournaments, World Cup and whatnot, do you have any interest in going to Europe?
Absolutely. I think it's been a dream of mine since I was a young kid. You wake up early in the mornings and you watch the Prem games and the Bundesliga games and the Serie A games. Remember watching Ronaldinho play for AC Milan, and watching, although I wasn't necessarily, I was kind of a center back at the time, but I didn't really know it. But watching Alessandro Nesta and Maldini and these guys playing the position, watching Carlos Puyol, seeing, I was younger when Cannavaro played, but, seeing these different teams, these different players play at the highest level in Europe, it always gave me that added motivation. And now that I'm in this position and, continuing to climb, and although I have aspects of my game that I need to grow, I feel like I have the abilities and potential to play over in Europe. So, I'm just going to keep chipping away at it, day by day, one step at a time. But, ultimately just focused right now on helping Philly win championships. And, ultimately it was when we succeed collectively, the individual accolades will follow. So right now, just focusing on helping the team win in whatever way I can, and grow my game in any way I can. And then, ultimately that step will come. And, I'm confident in that.
Awesome. I love the confidence. I feel like that's one of the things we've been missing. We talk about the grittiness and the confidence needs to be there. And I think you have it in spades. So I'm happy to hear that. Tell me about anything you have charity wise, or, what's something we can look for to help out, people that are listening, especially people in Philadelphia or, U.S. soccer with what you have going on.
Yeah, no. Not only am I involved with the MLS, works. We have a couple charter schools in the local area that you'll be able to get some small pitches for. But also here in Delaware, I'm an ambassador for Future Soccer Stars of America, which it allows inner city kids, those who don't have accessibility to the fields or equipment or training, to play football. But it gives them an outlet to come and just play and enjoy the game. I spend a lot of time with them and making sure that, I do reach out and I'm able to communicate with the kids and connect with them, because ultimately that's, I was in that position and that next generation of, potential footballers. So, in whatever way I can inspire them, I try to. Future Soccer Stars of America is something that I support, passionately. And I believe, is day by day, again, these kids are going to be the next, if they're not footballers, they'll be the next doctors, lawyers, physicians, whatever they want to aspire to be, engineers. I think if I can help them and inspire them at this age, then they can, achieve the fullest capacity. So.
Well, that's awesome. I tell you what, man, you're more mature at 21 than I was at any age. And I think anyone that listens will, it's hard not to root for you. You got a good head on your shoulders. And I think as a U.S. soccer fan, everyone's pulling for you to help lead this group into bigger and better things. So I can't thank you enough for coming on today. I'm looking forward to seeing you back on the field, hopefully sooner than later. And I'd say I would give you advice, but I don't think you need any of my advice. I think you got it figured out right now, man.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you guys for having me. It's always a pleasure to connect with you guys. So take care and stay safe, man.
All right, and there you go, folks. You can check him out with Philly this year and with the U.S. men's national team for probably a long, long time to come. So thank you, Mark, for coming on today, and we'll see you guys next time.